I cut it off on a dramatic part of the song. But we're all ready to go here. As the title says, we're crafting Spyro the Dragon for PS1. What's up, Wasabi? Good to see ya. Nice you pop in. Get a boga hey to you. Alright, so we're gonna load up our game here. This is my personal copy of Spyro the Dragon. What I played as a kid, actually. Got it from the old CD. And right when we begin, we're actually going to make a save state right off the bat, just at the intro cinematic. A couple of things. Sorry, just a moment here while I adjust things a little bit. There we go. A little stretch, but that's alright. Alright, and we're going to create a cinematic save state, I should say. Right there.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the fire.
There we
Okay,
go. Now we can load that without issue.
Okay.
And I'll pause here real quick and go through kind of what I do for corruptions is I, at least for the beginning, go over a little bit of what I'm doing in order to achieve these corruptions. We'll create our first 1 or 2 corruptions that we can throw onto a stockpile, and from there we'll just sort of mess around until we create a full stockpile of corruptions that we enjoy. And after the stream, I'll upload that stockpile so you can play it, or if you want to re-roll it or do anything you want with it, feel free. PS1 corruptions are actually a lot more straightforward than the ones we've seen in the past. That may be because we have a little less control over what we can corrupt, or at least the memory domains are a little less specific than, say, the NES and stuff like that. For example, on the NES, we may have a specific memory domain for the color palette and a specific one for the hardware RAM, stuff like that. For the PS1, well, I don't know the exact naming terms that they have. We have main RAM, the GPU or the graphic renderer RAM, the SPU RAM or the sound chip or the sound RAM, DS cache, DC cache, D-cache. I have no clue what that stands for. I should have looked that up. PIO mem and BIOS ROM. All of those are available to us, and I believe only the ones that are selected at the moment actually have an effect on the ROM. At least when I was doing a little bit of testing on the cinematic in the beginning, that's all that we could affect. However, once we actually get into the gameplay, we may be able to mess with some of the other 2 memory domains, I should say. These extra 2 that are listed. Anyway, so we'll begin. I first want to just do a little bit of prototyping and figure out which of these memory domains we can actually use to corrupt the ROM. So I'm going to select main RAM, and I believe I ran into some issues using main RAM when I was prototyping, but we'll see how we can do, when we prototype here. So I like to start off a little bit small. Let's say an intensity of 1, which means we're just doing a very small corruption, maybe just 1 memory write. It depends on the file system you're using and the engine, but we'll just call it 1 memory write in this case. And as soon as we play the emulation, which I'm going to do now,
rolling.
I'm just going to manually blast the game with
or
1 intensity writes, and you'll notice it actually froze already. So with 4 clicks of the button, or 4 memory writes, we already crashed the game. And that was my experience when I was testing it out. I want to make sure if that was still the case. We can't corrupt too much within main RAM without it running some errors. It may throw an exception and the entire game might crash. It may be running into various stuff like segmentation faults, and it's reading data it's not supposed to read, and it knows how to catch that. Either way, we can't corrupt there too much without running into problems. We can test it a little bit more though, just to be sure. So we'll load our save state and unpause it.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds.
I got a couple out of that. Let me raise the intensity to like 5.
For a Dragon's Age.
Just make it a little bit quicker.
We now have 12,000.
This isn't bad looking. Actually, this looks fantastic.
What about this Ganasty Gnort?
So if we're careful with it,
now I
think we can
understand
get some
he's
interesting
found a
functions out of
magic
main RAM.
spell to turn gems into warriors.
I'll try to hit the button again a couple times,
Nasty Nork.
and there's a full crash. We can do that again.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5.
I've been noticing we get some stretchy models out of that, and I really like that.
It's been peaceful here in the 5
I wonder if we use
worlds,
possibly
or is it
a different engine, we might preserve those
for a
effects, because they only last for a
Dragon's
moment.
We now have 12.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
That's
it's
not
been
bad.
peaceful
Grass is
here in the
freaking out on the
5
side.
worlds, or is it 6? For a Dragon's Age. We now have 12,000 treasure, or is it...
Alright, so we'll mess with the main RAM a little bit.
Oh,
Just need to
it's
remember that we have to keep a
peaceful
fairly
here
low
in the
intensity
5
when we mess with
worlds,
it.
or is it
Next we're going to mess with GPU
for a
RAM.
Dragon's Age?
And I find GPU RAM to be very similar to VRAM in other existing systems like the NES and the NES, where it's just the stuff that's being visually drawn to the screen. However, it affects the models themselves and maybe the front of the camera, and I'll show you what I mean when we corrupt here.
We
I'm
now
going to increase the intensity,
12,000 treasure, or
and I'm going to keep hitting manual blast. I never ran into a crash with
what about
GPU
this
RAM.
Ganasty Gnort character? Now I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems
In fact, I'm just gonna auto-corrupt, let it corrupt automatically for me as I talk.
Nasty Nork.
So you can kind of notice what's going on is there's this layer of film that's being drawn on top of everything. And with previous systems like the NES, it sort of hides everything that we're doing underneath this sort of clown vomit texture effect that we don't really want. With this, it's a little nicer because it doesn't hide everything that we're doing. It almost enhances it a little bit by adding that corrupted look to it. Like, look at Spyro. Look at Spyro. Even on this loading screen, you can kind of see that effect. So we may mess with it a little bit. It isn't going to be the focus of this stream, at least, to mess with GPU RAM. Only because no matter how many times you corrupt it, it's always going to kind of look like this. Oh. Pop on fire. Anyway, that's GPU RAM. Next we have SPU RAM. I'm going to load our save state for that. Now this one's affecting the sound chip, so I also need to bring the intensity way down once again. We can bring it down to like
rolling.
20.
It's been peaceful here in the
Outside
five
memory domain.
worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age. We now have 12,000 treasure, or...
And that actually took quite a lot of presses, so let's bring that up to maybe 200 intensity. And we'll lower our save state.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five worlds.
Yeah, not bad. I never ran into some interesting corruptions with this, like music corruptions. Hey, baby blue fort, how you doing? Good to see ya. I never ran into music corruptions with this. I only ran into sort of that error buzzing, which sounds awful. So we may not mess with SPU RAM too much, only because of that sound.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been
Corrupted Spyro today. A little exciting. My first PlayStation 1 corruption. So I'm excited for it.
For a dragon's age. We now have 12,000 treasure.
The last memory domain we're going to mess with is Dcache, which I noticed any immediate effects when I was prototyping. I'm going to bring the intensity up to 2,000. See if we notice any effects. These windows. And we'll unpause there.
What about this Ganasty Gnord character? Now I understand he's found.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing anything immediately apparent. We have a slight FPS drop because we're sending memory writes every iteration step.
Nasty Nork is a simple creature. He has been contained in a remote...
Yeah, we probably won't mess with Dcache, at least...
The Dragon Kingdom.
Oh, let's skip past the cinematic. See if we have any effects in there. The actual gameplay.
That does it.
Let's put a save state here just so we have one loaded up. Alright, and I want to try messing with Dcache a little bit. Also, we do get actually some effects when we're in game, even to the point where we crash. And it seems to be affecting mostly just the overworld. The overworld. The in-game world. The actual world. See that a little bit more. And you'll notice how the effects don't stay necessarily. They sort of flicker and go away. It looks like crashing quite a lot when we try messing with it. As a quick test, I want to double check. Can we use the Helgini engine to preserve the effects that we create? It's going alright. I actually just finished one of my harder finals. Like, I studied all night and all in the morning, and I went to the final, and I think I did fairly well. It was one of those blue book finals where you had to, you know, write a lot of information in essay format, and it was like 15 pages, but I think I did great, so I'm happy about that. I got a couple left over. How you doing? For this, so you can kind of notice, I used a different engine, which is similar to cheat engine. Every iteration step, it rewrites the data that a previous value had been assigned. In this case, we preserve that sort of flicker effect. So if we find something interesting, like, you know, a bridge is gone, we can preserve that bridge being gone indefinitely. An AR exam, that's something to be proud about. Wish I had some kind of cheer mode that I could do. Props to you. That's awesome, congrats. What'd I do?
Thank you for releasing me, Spyro. Free 10 dragons in the artisan world. Then find the balloonist. He'll transport you to the next world.
What about Nasty Nork? I'm going after him.
Find dragons first. That's all I can tell you.
That's a cool symbol. It looks like 4 wrenches put together. Very purple. It reminds me of the, is that one? The little wrench that she has. It's cool. Oh, I love the Ross one. Is that little guy? Gunrun. Okay. I'm not familiar with Gunrun, but I love the little Bob Ross guy. And now I'm messing with BIOS ROM, and I'm not noticing anything with BIOS ROM either, so I think we have enough information in terms of background information that we can use to create some stockpile corruptions. Yeah. So, we're gonna go back to our original cinematic save state, and we're gonna start doing some glitch harvesting. So we use the glitch harvester for the real-time corruptor, at least for the simulation that we're doing today. And with that, we have a couple of windows available to us. We have the stash history window, which will see some save states selected in here, or some save states saved to here. Oh, there's more Bob Ross. Is that a Kappa Ross? It is! Oh my god! I know the basic Bob Ross, I use him a lot. I didn't know there's a Kappa Ross. That's amazing. Pixel Ross. A happy little pixel. Anyway, so we have the stockpile manager over here. Once we have our save states that we like, we can throw them on the stockpile, and at the end of the stream we'll have a compilation of all the corruptions that we enjoy. So we're gonna start doing that. Let's load our first save state here.
Rolling.
And we're gonna try messing with main RAM. I like some of the corruptions we got that before that off the bat. We'll do an intensity of 30.
For a Dragon's Age. We now have 12,000.
Oh, the Kappa Ross is global.
Or is it 14,000?
I'm glad it is too.
What? Okay, rolling.
Oh,
I'll quickly explain what happened here.
The 5 worlds,
Pause it real quick.
is it...
So you notice I hit the blast send button on the glitch harvester right here. And when I did that, I created a save state. And it's the same exact save state as one we already had predefined, but it has a corruption blast layer added to it. And it just means that it has a bunch of memory writes that we wrote that create some sort of effect. And we can look exactly at that effect and determine exactly what it does, or to a degree, by opening our blast editor, which is this new window here. And really this is all that corruptions are, is it does a bunch of memory operations that create wacky effects, to put it simply. So for example, in this very first memory write, we have resetting a value, that value being 84 in hexadecimal, to the source address E3BDD. And what that does, I have no clue. Maybe I can look up in some decompiled version of Spyro to figure out what that source address does and what references it, or maybe pull it up in Cheat Engine and check what function writes and accesses it. That's a lot of work that I don't really want to do. Instead, we can rely on a little bit of chaos to create the corruptions that we're looking for, just by randomly assigning value and source address pairs to sort of create those interesting effects. And we'll notice that with the current stash, the current save state that we're loading, we don't actually have anything interesting going on. If I play the simulation here, there's nothing out of the ordinary that I really see.
We now have 12,000.
A little bit of flickering if you saw that, but that's nothing I would really want to keep. It's just cool to look at.
What about this Ganasty Gnork character? Now,
So from here I can move on. I can just go ahead and apply another corruption. And this one we actually crashed, so I can apply it yet again. Another crash, and we can continue in this fashion until we have something that we like looking at. And perhaps our intensity is a little too high. I bet a little too high.
It's been peaceful here
to see if we can get some interesting results from it. I'm going to drop that down a little bit, down to 20.
Been peaceful.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the fire.
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Stretchy head.
been
And that shouts out to me.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, that one's not bad. I almost want to keep that. The grass texture is kind of changed. Not quite interesting enough, but we're getting somewhere. I also like this stretchy Spyro head. If that stays, I may keep that.
Treasure, or is it 14,000? What about this Ganasty Gnork character? Now I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty Nork is a simple creature, vampire. He has been contained in a remote world and is no threat
Also,
to the
oh yeah,
dragons.
this looks like it's sticking with Spyro.
Rat!
He's got kind of that,
He is ugly.
what does that mean? It's that prism effect with the crystal.
Looks like I
Led
got
Zeppelin
some
album.
things to do.
Okay, let's see if Spyro still has that. Nope, so it doesn't persist after. Makes sense. Learning the interest cinematic is a little bit different than the actual gameplay. And it wasn't interesting enough in the actual cinematic to want to keep it, so continue. And try to grab some more. Eventually we'll get to an effect we like.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five
Like,
Worlds. Or
skin is
is
like
it
attacking the guy's head.
for a
God.
dragon's age.
Went in his mouth.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five Worlds.
Now we're using the
or
Nightmare
is it
Engine. Let me try switching to the Hell Genie.
for
See if
a
we can get more
dragon's
permanent
age?
effects.
We
Because we
now
get the
have
stretchy effect, but it's only
12,000
temporary.
Treasure, or is it for...
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been
Yeah, it's a little bit better, like we're
peaceful here in
getting-
the Five Worlds.
It seems like it's lasting a little bit longer at least.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Got a lot more flickers
it's
too.
been peaceful here in the Five Worlds, or is it...
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five Worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age. We now have...
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful
Let's
here
try something
in the
rather
Five
high. Let's try like
Worlds, or
50.
is it
So we'll get a couple, probably get a lot of
for a
crashes actually.
dragon's age. We now...
The results may be
Okay,
not bad.
okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five
Okay,
Worlds,
rolling.
or is it 6?
Just keep surprising
For
him.
a dragon's age. We now have 12,000 treasure.
That dragon in the
or
back is like, dude, my arm's a triangle.
14,000.
The guy's
What about this
confused.
Ganasty Gnork character? Now I understand he's found a
Take it, roll.
magic spell to turn gems into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty Nork is a simple creature.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five Worlds.
So we may have too
Okay,
high of an
rolling.
intensity. Let's try
It's
switching.
been peaceful here in the Five
Let's try
Worlds,
Nightmare Engine
or
and just
is
using tilt types. So currently
For
with
a
those random memory
dragon's age.
addresses. Ooh,
We
also
now have-
seizure warning.
Okay, rolling.
Forgot to warn that
Oh,
a little bit earlier.
it's been
If you're sensitive to
peaceful
flashing
here in the
images
Five
or loud
Worlds,
sounds,
or is
I
it
warn you not to watch the stream. We do have a lot of
for a
flashing
dragon's
images and loud
age?
sounds.
We now have 12,000
And that warning is for
treasure,
the rest of the stream.
or is it for...
Anyways, so we're
Okay,
using
rolling.
originally random
Oh,
values,
it's
so
been peaceful here.
given our list of random source addresses, we assign random values between the value of 0 and FF. It could just be like AD or 18 or 64, you know, anything like that, as the values that we assign. Instead, we can do tilt types, which increments or decrements the values that are already existing at those source addresses. And sometimes that can be more stable, at least I find it to be more stable, so we can see if we have a little less crashes. Also, that face is glorious. Let's unpause
In
here.
the Five
And we'll
Worlds,
try some
or
tilt corruptions.
is it-
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five Worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age. We now have 12,000
Not quite. We might be
treasure,
getting just unlucky in
or
general
is it
with the interest cinematic.
14,000?
Maybe get a little
What about
luckier
this Ganasty Gnork character?
with
Now
actual
I
gameplay.
understand he's found
Fine.
a magic spell.
Who cares to keep trying it?
Okay, rolling.
I kind of like that.
Oh, it's been peaceful
Actually, a lot.
here in the
I almost
Five
want to keep that.
Worlds, or
Let's keep it.
is
Why not?
for a dragon's age.
I also want to see what else goes happens. They look like they're stretching a little bit. He looks like he's missing his legs.
What about this Ganasty?
Oh, this is a really good time to pause it. Look at his head. Anyways, so we're going to do something that's very important to corruptions. Any corruptions that, once you get the hang of corrupting, you should always do this. It's called sanitizing your corruptions. And to do that, we're going to open this most recent save state in the blast editor. That is the currently applied save state that we're currently looking at. And now we're going to look at all these memory addresses. So there's 100 here right now, which isn't a lot, but it's quite a decent amount. And each one of these creates some effect in the save state that we're currently looking at. So if I disable the very top one and load the corruption and unpause it,
Okay, roll.
you might notice that there's really nothing changed that we can tell from immediately. Maybe this affected one little pixel, maybe this affected something much later in the game that we won't see for a very long time. And this one actually might not be necessary for the current corruption that we're creating. So how do we determine, of all of these 100 corruptions, which ones we want to keep? Because if we go through here and decide, I want that one, I don't want this one, I want this one, it's going to take us forever. At least with 100 byte or 100 memory writes, it's going to take a long time. What about when we get to, a couple hundred or maybe 1,000 memory writes? It's going to be an insane amount to deal with. So we can rely once again on randomness in order to, well, sanitize the corruption, in order to remove the unnecessary memory writes that we don't really need in order to preserve the one that we're looking for. So I'm going to hit this button here that says randomly disable 50% of these. And you'll notice some of the ones are now unchecked. And we're going to load the corruption once again and observe what happens. And in this case, it looks like nothing happened at all. We still have the one that we're looking for, where we're sort of standing in a lake. His legs are gone. The dragons in the background still sort of have that blue speckle effect on their wings. Everything looks normal. So that means the 50% that we disabled, we don't actually need, because we still have what we're looking for without having those enabled. So now we can remove those ones from memory. And now our blast layer, or the corruption itself, has reduced in 50 memory writes, which is considerable. It's by 50%. Now we can continue in that fashion by once again disabling 50% of them, loading the corruption. And in this case, something else happened. We'll notice that actually the game looks normal. The corruption that we are looking for doesn't exist anymore. And that tells us that the corruption that we're looking for actually exists in the other half of this stockpile. So we randomly disabled 50% of them, and one of those, or a couple of those, actually had the effect we were looking for. So now in this case, we can invert the ones we disabled to select that other half, and we can now load it once again to verify that we have the corruption we're looking for. And we do. Lake is still blue. So now we can remove the ones we have currently disabled. And once again, we've cut the stockpile down by 50%. And once you get a hang of this, you can quickly maneuver through this. It'll only take you a couple of moments, but
Okay, rolling.
I like to explain it for the first couple times, just in case you're brand new to
Okay, rolling.
to sanitization of corruptions.
It's been peaceful here.
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
I know, right? Their wings in the background. It's kind of cool looking. I like their wings. Anyways, there we go. So now we have a single memory rate, in which case we subtract the value of 1 from the address 1DF085. And that one memory rate creates all of the stuff that we're seeing on screen right now. It removes the legs, it draws that sort of blue speckle lake, and it puts speckles on their wings in the background.
Nasty Nork is a simple creature. Vampire.
It also creates him kind of coloration too. So now you might wonder, if you're like me, what happens if you try subtracting or adding different values? What happens if you set a value? What about this memory address is special that creates this effect? So we can try changing within the blast editor the value that we send to memory. Originally we were subtracting the value 1, we'll try subtracting the value 2 instead. We'll load that corruption and unpause it. And actually nothing happened in this case. If we continue the emulation, we might notice some flickers here and there, or something,
in the 5 worlds,
or perhaps nothing at all. How about instead of subtracting 1, how about we add 1?
Okay, rolling.
Oh!
At the very beginning, I noticed a little bit of flicker in the sky, a little bit of blue, but nothing permanent.
For a dragon's age, we now have 12,000.
So in that case, we may have got a little lucky when we got this random corruption. There. I know how to spell subtraction. Subtraction. Did I spell that right? It wouldn't load if it didn't. I did spell it right. How do I spell subtraction?
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age, we...
Can I do lowercase? No, I can't.
Okay, rolling.
Caps.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6?
There we go. I think I had a misplaced I.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the
We're doing
5
something
worlds,
incorrectly.
or
How are we doing it
is
correctly?
it 6? For a...
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Subtract.
Oh, it's been peaceful
It's not
here
subtract,
in the 5
it's subtract.
worlds, or is it...
I never knew it was spelled like that.
Okay, rolling.
Or that it's not literally subtracting,
It's been
it's
peaceful
subtracting.
here in the 5 worlds.
Well, anyways,
Okay, rolling.
we're real quick
Oh,
resanitizing. I didn't know that was what it
Okay,
was called.
rolling.
My bad. At least we have a very low intensity, so it doesn't take very long.
Okay. Okay, roll. Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, rolling. Okay. Okay, rolling.
So now we have a single memory, right?
it's been peaceful
Just as
here
is.
in the 5
Creates our effect. And from here we can throw it onto our stash by clicking this button down here at the bottom. And that creates a new save state right here at the very bottom of our stash history. And from there we can throw it onto our stockpile. And we have to give a name for it. And of course all this time I was talking I could have thought of a name for it, but I didn't. So we'll call it, I don't know, Visual Speckle Lake. Something simple. And if we want to add a note, we may do so by clicking on the far right, clicking on note, and I don't know, saying something like, this is the first... I'll try it. I can't hit certain buttons when I have caps lock enabled because my laptop doesn't like so many buttons being hit at the same time. This is the first corruption of evening! Exclamation point. This is only a visual corruption, no immediate mechanical corruptions apparent. Something like that. Now you'll notice when I hit X on this, note icon right there becomes populated, and now we have a note on our stockpile. And that can be useful later on. That can be useful later on if you have something that you need to complete a couple steps until you can actually see the corruption. You can list those steps in the notes, or if the user needs to do something special, yeah, something like that. Anyway, from here we can do a brand new corruption. Let's give that a try.
Okay, rolling.
oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age, we now have 12.
I'm waiting for like a good stretchy
Okay,
one.
rolling.
I haven't seen one of those yet.
It's been...
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5...
Okay. Okay, rolling.
Now that
Oh, it's
is
been
a
peaceful here in the 5
fantastic looking
worlds,
one.
or is
I
it
love it.
6? For a dragon's
Look
age,
at all that that's going
we
on.
now have
He's
12,000
wire mesh.
treasure,
The background
or
is
it 14,000?
Shrek green.
What about this Ganasty Gnor
That's wonderful.
character? Now, I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems
All right.
into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question.
Oh,
Nasty Nork.
I love it. They all look like that. They're gonna sanitize this once again. And you may wonder, like, why do we sanitize every single time? What's the purpose of it? The purpose of sanitizing your corruptions, and the reason why I recommend anyone sanitize your corruptions, unless you absolutely can't, or you don't want to like lose the effect that we have, is because it improves the stability of the game. If I gave this stockpile to someone, I would want them to be able to play it for more than 2 seconds. If they load it on the computer and they only see the effect for like half a second and then it crashes, that's not a good overall experience. That would hurt my reputation as a corrupter. That wouldn't enjoy if they were like playing on stream. The audience wouldn't enjoy it. No, it's a lot of bad stuff. You want one specific aspect of that corruption to persist and all the unnecessary bits to be thrown away unless you're specifically making a corruption that does a whole multitude of stuff. And you can do that with hybrid corruptions. Once you have sanitized corruptions that you have determined specific memory addresses, you throw them together into a hybrid corruption and you deliver that in your stockpile. Anyways, I'll stop ranting. I will always advocate for sanitization of corruptions.
Okay, rolling.
So that's what we're doing now.
It's been
We see the corruption persist, so we can remove disabled and persist in this fashion.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Wasabi, if you're here, what would you name this corruption?
Okay, rolling.
I don't know what I would name
oh,
this.
it's been peaceful here in the fire.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's
I'm
been
hinting with the idea of like
peaceful
wire
here in the
mesh
five
something.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful.
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's
Oh,
been
Drino, I like
peaceful
that.
here.
That sounds great.
Okay,
Absolutely,
rolling.
son.
Oh,
Okay, rolling.
oh.
Alright,
it's
we're gonna throw it on the
been
stash.
peaceful here in the five worlds,
And throw it on the stockpile,
or is
and
it
thanks to Wasabi, we're gonna name
for
this
a Dragon's Age.
Emerald Dream.
We now have 12,000.
I also like
treasure, or
to note that this is a visual corruption.
15,000.
I'm gonna put that in brackets.
What about this Ganasty Gnork character? Now I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems
Okay, cool.
into warriors.
Open that in the
for
blast
his
editor.
cause.
Let's try messing with the values a little bit.
Question.
So again, we're gonna
Nasty
try subtracting the value of 2.
Okay,
And that actually crashes the game, which is interesting. Let's try
okay,
3.
rolling.
Also crash the game.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
I'm gonna
it's
copy
been
the word
peaceful
subtraction
here
because
in
I'm
the
not gonna know how to
five
spell that later.
worlds, or is it 6? For a
And we're gonna
Dragon's
try adding the
Age,
value of 1 this
We
time.
now have 12.
And also crash, so we got very
Oh,
lucky when
it's
we
been
decided
peaceful
to...
here in the five worlds, or
Oh no, it
is
wasn't a crash. Only a freeze. Just a little
for a
weird.
Dragon's Age.
Anyway.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's
That's why randomness is so awesome, because you could have spent, so long trying different random values at that source address or many other source addresses. And what were the chances that you would have got this beautiful corruption out of that? It's beauty. Anyway, let's continue along. We're
been
gonna hit
peaceful
play,
here in the five
and we're gonna
worlds,
blast a
or
fresh
is
corruption
it-
now.
Okay, roll. Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been
It's funny, that same tuft of grass had the little
Okay,
water underneath it. Kind of broke in place.
okay, rolling.
Oh, if only it was zoomed out a little bit. I want to see what I'm looking at. What is this?
Or is it 6? For a Dragon's
I think I
Age,
saw a face.
we now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
What about this Ganasty Gnork character?
You ever
Now,
have
I
a nightmare like
understand
this?
He's found a
have.
magic spell to turn gems into warriors for his cause.
This looks like someone who has claustrophobia, like the worst nightmare for them. For a second there, you can almost see the camera. Let's go back a little bit.
Good question.
You can kind of see the background.
Question.
Can't tell where our perspective is though.
Nasty Nork is a simple creature. He has been contained in a remote world. and is
It looks like as soon as we did the camera shift to that other location, we actually froze the camera.
ugly. That does it.
Anyway, try re-rolling that corruption. I don't think we'll get any other results out of it. Yeah, doesn't look like the case. So we'll try a fresh one now.
Oh!
From the top.
Okay, rolling. Oh! Okay, rolling. Oh!
It's
It's
pretty.
been
Okay. Okay. Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's
Just at the
peaceful
bottom, they look
here
like
in the
teeth.
5 worlds, or is it 6? For a
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, rolling.
There we
Okay,
go.
rolling.
That was the stretchy one I was looking for.
been
Where it's
peaceful
just
here in
front of
the
it
5
keeps on
worlds,
happening
or is it
and looks glorious like this.
for a dragon's
Even the sheep.
age?
Even the
We
sheep.
now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
What about this nasty Gnort character? Now I understand he's
Okay.
found a magic
We're gonna open that in our
spell
blast
to
editor.
turn gem.
Pause this here real quick. Oh, look, I paused it when they're all normal. We're gonna remove half of these. Yeah, let's see if we can determine what memory address causes this.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's
Okay, rolling.
oh,
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
oh, it's been
Okay, roll. Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
oh, it's
There we go. We have
Okay,
a single
rolling.
memory address that causes this wacky effect.
been peaceful
I keep saying the
here
word
in
wacky and I
5
gotta stop.
worlds, or is it
Where we
for a
subtract the value
dragon's
1
age?
from
We
1FC28.
now have 12,000
Send it to the stash.
treasure, or
Throw it on the stockpile. We'll call it
14,000.
What about this nasty Gnort character?
winning stretches.
Now I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems into
Forgot to
warriors
mention this is
for
visual
his
corruption.
cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty Nork is a simple creature. He has been contained in a remote world and is no threat to the Dragon Kingdom. No threat!
There we go.
Besides, he is ugly that.
I'm gonna see if this carries over to gameplay, just because I'm curious. Looks like it doesn't even carry over to this little bit, which normally it would. So I think... Oh wow! For part of it, it does. Like, oh, I forgot what the fairy's name is. The name escapes me. Alright, well anyways. It also does crash, but we can't do anything to prevent that.
Dragon Kingdom. No threat! No threat to the Dragon Kingdom.
Let us
No
do a
threat!
fresh...
Besides,
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Zoe, thank you.
it's been
Thank you, I did not know that name. I think everyone got that
Okay,
either.
rolling.
Shoot.
oh, it's
Ooh. That sounds great.
Okay, rolling.
oh.
Also, I like
it's been
that's where he
peaceful
crashes.
here in the 5 worlds,
That
or
face.
is it for a dragon's age? We now have 12.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, rolling.
oh,
Okay. Okay. Okay, rolling.
oh. It's been
Something
peaceful
wrong with his
here
hand.
in the 5 worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age.
I guess
We
it's
now
alright.
have
Just painted his
12,000 treasure,
arm nail.
or
Okay, rolling.
oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or
Whoa.
is it 6?
We're looking at.
For a dragon's age.
Oh, it's
We now
the
have
it's the second guy. He's off
12,000
frame. I forget his name too. All four
or
names.
Is it 14?
The second target though that they point the mic towards.
What
We should
about
start
this
animating in
nasty
just a moment.
Gnort character? Now I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty
There he
Nork
goes.
is a simple
Oh, that's too bad. It
vampire.
was off screen.
He has been contained in a remote world
No, it's very cool.
No threat.
If I had a little more focus, I'd like to keep that.
Okay,
Esther,
rolling. Oh,
you would know more than I would.
It's been peaceful.
But thank you.
rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh,
I'm in.
it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6?
Okay,
Ooh.
rolling.
More violence.
It's been peaceful here in the 5
Oh,
worlds,
no.
or is it
That shouldn't have loaded.
for a dragon's age? We now have 12,000
To our fortress,
treasure,
yeah.
Or is it
Kind of like when you have like foliage in spring.
What
Oh,
about
it looks
this
like a really bad
nasty
corrupted
Gnome
like PS1 virus.
Now I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty North.
The camera isn't even panning over to him.
He has
There he
been
goes.
contained in a
It's late,
remote world, and is no
It's a
threat
couple
to the
seconds
Dragon
off.
King. No threat!
Alright, let's try sanitizing this a bit. See what we can sanitize. This might be too many things going on. We'll see if we can keep it though.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it?
Let's check it because we have to wait a couple seconds to see if it
Okay,
actually
rolling.
happened or not.
Oh, it's
You can see if we
Okay,
see the
rolling.
screen, we can have a good idea that it
It's
worked.
been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it?
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or
Okay, rolling.
oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age, we now have 12.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or
Okay, rolling.
oh,
Here we go. Single memory,
Okay,
right?
rolling.
oh,
It's the
been
value 1
peaceful
to
here in the
1D
5
1v6
worlds, or
creates this.
is it
I love that. Just one thing does
for
this.
a dragon's age?
It's wonderful.
We now have 12.
Alright, I'm gonna throw it on stockpile.
Treasure,
Call it
or
No threat to the
Spyro BSOD.
No
Turn
threat!
to death.
Besides,
I forgot visual. We need to write visual.
only that does it. That does it.
Accidentally hit the up arrow, so we're revisiting the last corruption, but
Okay, rolling.
so it's still working alright.
oh, it's been
We can try opening this in Blast
peaceful here in
Editor,
the
see if we
5
can
worlds,
get any
or
effects out of
is
it. I don't believe so though.
For a dragon's age, we now have 12,000 treasure, or is it?
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Nah, it's not even worth the effect because we'll know
Okay,
crash.
rolling.
oh.
Alright, let's do a
it's
fresh
been
one.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Getting a lot
it's
more
been peaceful here in
the main
the
ramp than I
5
thought, so I'm pretty happy with
worlds,
this.
or is it 6?
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, rolling.
oh, it's
Okay, rolling.
They're all gone.
oh,
Okay, rolling.
Forgot to show up the set.
Okay, rolling.
oh. It's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or
What's
is
that?
it?
The UFO?
For
the top left?
a dragon's age, we now have 12,000 treasure.
Oh man. Cannot alt tab to do other stuff.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it?
I forgot. But it looks like you have to.
Dragon's age.
me. When you zoom in,
we
it
now
actually has
have
like a little spiral top to
12,000
it.
Treasure, or is it 14?
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, rolling.
Try up here intensity some more. We're bringing it up to
peaceful here in the
50.
5 worlds,
Don't push our
or
luck.
is it?
too much. Push your luck too much. Alright,
Okay,
30.
rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds,
see if this
or
one will
is
catch
it
up like the other one.
6?
Nope. Alright. Oh wow, it actually goes off screen, that's funny. It goes to the past where the window is being displayed. That's how I describe it without visualizing
Okay,
it, but
rolling.
anyway.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been.
Screen's offset, I guess I would say.
Okay, roll. Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been...
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, wait. This one also looks like... What was it? That was it. I think I did. This one also looks like the screen of death. Like, I can see the text up there.
it's been peaceful here in the five
An error has
worlds,
occurred. Oh, wow! Okay, great. It even goes further.
For a dragon's age.
The
we
entire
now have
screen
12,000
eventually
treasure,
cut out.
Or is it 14,000?
What about this Ganasty Gnort character?
What's happening?
Now I understand he's found a magic spell to
Stop being
turn
drunk on the
gems
screen.
into...
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it...
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh,
It's kind of cool looking. I like the little water
here in the
droplets.
five worlds, or
I'm not gonna
is
save that, but
it for a
I dig ones
dragon's
like that.
day?
Okay, rolling.
like subtle
Oh,
visual
It's
corruptions.
been peaceful here in the
Ooh, that's a
rolling.
nice stretchy castle.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five worlds, or is it six?
Yeah,
For
semi-auto
a dragon's
defense.
age, we now have 12,000 treasure.
I want to keep that though. I'm on the
14,000.
fence about it. It's not too
What about
interesting.
this Ganasty Gnort
Kind of flicks
character?
at the dragons in the
Now
front,
I
but
understand he's found a magic spell
I
to
will
turn gems into
leave it.
warriors for his cause.
Okay, roll. Okay, roll. Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Grass is really losing on this
peaceful
one.
here.
Okay, we've been using the
rolling.
Nightmare Engine for most of this.
It's been peaceful
With
here
dual
in
types,
the
let's try
five
back to
worlds,
random
or
types
is
again.
it-
Or I'll probably definitely have to drop that intensity down.
Okay,
I got
rolling.
one to run out of
Oh,
this.
it's been peaceful here in the five worlds, or is it six?
50. The last one
Okay,
wasn't
rolling.
bad. What was it? 6?
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five worlds.
Yeah, every
or
time he adds
is
another increment to it.
it for a dragon's age.
It crashes,
We
however,
now
I
have
think sanitizing it might be able to
12,000
preserve that.
treasure, Or is it
It kind of looks like he's
14,000?
like wearing tribal paint.
What about this Ganasty Gnort
Alright, let's see if we
character?
can prevent it from crashing by sanitizing.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful
Spyro
here
Border
in the
World 6,
five
yeah.
worlds, or is it six? For a dragon's age.
Or is it World 7?
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five worlds.
Okay, rolling.
So here's an
Oh,
interesting thing that I
it's
thought I was
been
going to run
peaceful
to
here
earlier
in the
than later.
five
I
worlds, or
noticed that
is
he himself is not corrupted, however the
for
floor
a
still is.
dragon's age.
So that tells us that
We
there's
now
2
have
corruptions.
12,000
One of
treasure,
which is the
or
ground corruption that we're looking at now.
14,000.
And if we invert this, the other one is his head
Okay,
corruption
rolling.
and that hill off to the right.
It's been
That's also
peaceful
another
here
corruption.
in the
So there's
five
2 existing
worlds,
ones that we
or
need to try to
is it
preserve. We just have to keep that in mind when
For a
we're randomly
dragon's
disabling them,
age.
that we don't accidentally delete one of those. For example, if I
rolling.
were to delete this one or the other half, we would
Been
miss
peaceful
one of them.
here in-
Okay,
It goes here.
rolling.
So we just have to kind of keep re-rolling it, so we get lucky.
Okay, rolling.
We can also try manually enabling and disabling some of them.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five worlds, or is...
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful.
Okay,
Okay, we
rolling.
only have 3 left, so I
Oh,
can just kind of
it's
guess which
been
one is which.
peaceful here in the five.
There we go.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
So now we have 2 memory rights this time
peaceful
to create
here
this
in the
effect.
five worlds, or
And we
is
can
it
send that to our stash, and
for a dragon's
we'll throw it
age.
on the stockpile
We
as
now have 12,000 treasure, or
a visual corruption.
14,000.
We'll call it.
What about this Ganasty Gnort character?
Tribal
Now,
paint.
I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems into warriors.
And now
for
from
his
here,
cause.
this is something we haven't had a chance to do yet because we're mostly working with skill values. But since we're sending the value 60 and 9F to RAM, and we did get to change this a little bit, but we can change the value that we send to RAM. So for example, if we were to do, let me do this once on new save state. So like this one here, it's the exact same memory addresses, but now we have different values. So I can now load this corruption.
Okay.
And you'll see the floor is still blue,
Oh,
but his face is not, isn't changed anymore. And we can start adjusting these values manually to find out if we can create different corruptions out of them, if we can enhance the corruptions we already have, or if we can remove the corruptions and understand a little bit more about the memory that's going on, or how the memory is being used. So for example, I'm going to set this bottom value to 0, load the corruption, and unpause it. It looks like that value specifically controls the floor, and value 0 makes the floor back to normal. Let's try 1. 1 seems to be okay. Let's try 1, 0.
okay, rolling.
We'll notice that with 1, 0, the value 16? 16 in hexadecimal? I forget. I'm bad at hex. Creates this blue effect on the ground. And for the top one, I have no clue what this creates this effect. I think it was C before, so let's try FF.
Okay, rolling.
Descent.
Oh, it's been
Anyways, so we can
peaceful
manually
here
go
in the
through
Five
here
Worlds, or-
and change those values, trying to find the perfect value and just rotating them in and out. That would take a long time. And while I don't have the button pictured, there's a button that can help us out with randomly deciding on those values. So instead of manually changing it to 0, then to 1, then to 2, we can rely once again on randomness to do it for us by hitting reroll. And that will just change the values that are sent to memory. So now we have 4.3 and C4 with the exact same source addresses. And by hitting that button a couple times, we'll get a good idea of how those values can change and what we can create with it.
Okay,
You
rolling.
won't ever get a perfect picture with randomness, but you'll get a general idea. Actually, this one kind of looks like, when you have a picture on... Wait.
Okay, rolling. Okay.
It's that one with like the... I guess we lost it. This one. It looks like when you have an image that's broken on a website. That's what that reminds me of. Oh, okay.
Or is it 6? For a Dragon's Age. We now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
That's me in the background.
What about this Ganasty Gnort character? Now, I understand he's found a magic
hey,
spell
Wasabi, you still
to
there?
turn gems into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty Nork is a simple creature. He has been contained in a remote world and is no threat to the Dragon Kingdom. No threat! Besides, he is ugly. That does it!
I named that Hunted the Tiger because of what the main dragon looks like.
Some things to do.
Say wait a couple moments for the corruption to load because it does take a couple seconds once you actually start it.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five Worlds, or is it 6?
And we had another one like that. Let's see. I think it was the Spyro
For-
BSOD. Yeah, I'm gonna say wait a
Okay,
few months for
rolling.
the corruption to start.
Oh,
Great. Now with that, we have another corruption down. We can try still re-rolling that a little bit more if we'd like to check out what else we can create with it. We may be
Okay.
out of interesting ones, though.
Okay. Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
oh.
Oh, it's, yeah, it doesn't seem it's about the
peaceful
range.
here in the Five
Play-Doh's
Worlds.
Tribal Paint and
Okay,
Hunted the Tiger. two completely different corruptions that are spawned from the exact same source resources, just at different values. So that can be interesting to experiment with a little bit.
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five.
I kind of like this because it reminds me, since they're filming like a live action with green screen.
We now have 12.
And we're gonna call it that.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been.
I think some weird FPS issues, and it has to do with the corruption that we're currently loading. I believe. I don't think there's a speed button. Let me see if I knocked it down. Nah, 100%.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Weird.
it's been peaceful here in the.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, rolling.
oh,
Okay, got
it's
that.
been
We're
peaceful
throwing the stash tree.
here
Unfortunately,
in the
can't
five
eliminate that like
worlds,
flickering on the
or
bottom.
is it 6? For a dragon's age, we now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
There we go. Live action recording. Try
What about
re-rolling
this?
that, see if we get different values out of it.
Okay, rolling. Okay,
Yeah,
rolling.
we got one.
Oh,
That's kinda cool
been
looking.
Peaceful here in the
Not gonna throw it
five.
on the stockpile, but neat. Nothing else out of that.
Okay, rolling.
Let's do a fresh one.
Okay, roll. Okay, rolling.
Cool.
Oh, it's been peaceful
I like
here
that
in
he's
the
made of like
five worlds,
shapes.
or
Oh, and the
is it
dragon's in the background too.
For a dragon's age, we now have 12,000.
They look like they're made of gems.
Or
I want to see if I can remove that
rolling.
like spike that's over the screen. That's over him.
Okay, rolling.
Might not be able to. It looks like it's part of it.
It's been peaceful here in the.
Oh no, we can
Okay,
remove it.
rolling.
Look at this. That's gone. That's why he
Okay, rolling.
sanitized corruptions.
Oh, it's been.
Oh, now that I look
peaceful
like it, it
here
looks
in
like a
the
bunch of
five
holes on his body.
worlds, or is it
Now I have like trypophobia from looking at him.
For a dragon.
Okay, rolling. Okay, roll.
I don't want to look at him anymore.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age, we now have
I was
12,000
gonna say
treasure,
visual.
or is it 14,000?
Gemstone
What
skin.
about this nasty Gnort?
It's kind of cool looking. I like how that came
Now,
out.
I understand he's found a
Kind of a random
magic
effect though. Happy with it.
Okay,
We're re-rolling here. Looks like the gems that we're getting aren't as vibrant as the original one, so I don't think we're gonna keep any of these.
okay, rolling.
That's kind of cool.
Oh,
Get like a
it's
silhouette
been
effect out of it.
peaceful here in the five worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age, we now have 12,000
I want to keep this though.
treasure,
Not
or
necessarily.
is it 14,000?
It's cool to see one that looks like
What
this.
about this?
Ooh,
Okay,
fractals. Alright.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the
Now this
five
is a little
worlds,
too
or is
messy.
it
I would want to keep this if it was a little more
For a
controlled,
dragon's
but there's
age,
just too much
We
going
now
on.
have
That's just not interesting to look at.
12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
I think it's awesome. In real time.
What about this nasty Gnort character? Now, I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty Nork is a simple creature.
Oh
He
man.
has been contained in a remote...
If it was a little more controlled, I'd be happy with it. Let's go back one. I want to look at this.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here
Kind of
in
cool
the
coloration.
five worlds.
Let's re-roll a couple more times. We had some cool ones out of this.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five worlds, or is it 6?
Okay, let's see. I'm on the fence
For
about
a
this.
dragon's age, we now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
What about this nasty Gnort character?
You know,
Now,
even
I
when it's
understand he's
lessened,
found a
I
magic
still
spell
not appeal to it.
turn
It just
gems
looks too
into
messy.
warriors for his
He went to
cause.
World
I'll
8.
take
Yeah,
that question.
he went to World 8 and then he
Nasty
saved
Nork is a
the
simple
game
creature.
and pulled out the cartridge while it was saving.
He has been
Cost of the
contained in a
dragon.
remote world and is no threat to the Dragon Kingdom. No threat!
We had an even more intense one. Look back here. This one? No, we had a lot here. Also, silhouette dragons.
Okay, rolling.
I like just this basic one. They have like gemstone skin.
Okay,
Look at
rolling. Oh,
that. Yeah, he's like.
Peaceful here in the five
Our
worlds,
world is
or
broken.
is it...
Live action recording. They're
Okay,
all
rolling.
green.
Oh, it's been
I thought you might like this one.
here in the five...
Let's let this.
Okay,
Hunter
rolling.
the Tiger.
Oh, it's been peaceful
Wait
here
for it.
in the five worlds, or
Does that not look
is
like Hunter to you?
it for a dragon's age? We now have 12,000 treasure.
Just if Hunter had no ears.
What about this Ganasty Gnorc character?
That's a nightmare?
Now, I
Yeah.
understand he's found
Yeah.
a magic
If you
spell
sleep
to
in
turn
corruptions like I
gems
do,
into warriors
that's what
for
you
his
see.
cause.
I'll take that question.
This one gives me like trypophobia. I don't care about
Okay,
this one.
rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here.
He's not even the first one, I don't
Okay,
think.
rolling.
Oh,
Oh, he's not even in the first
peaceful
one.
here in the
Now he
five
is.
worlds, or is it...
Yeah, if you ever wanted
For a
Hunter in the
dragon's
first game,
age, we
I
now
gotcha.
have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Oh, we got some
it's
right
been
angles going on.
peaceful.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, Shadow
Oh,
Corruptions. I
it's
love
been
Shadow
peaceful
Corruptions.
here in the
Alright, I don't think we're in
five
anything
worlds,
outside of
or
that,
is it
though.
six?
It's kinda cool. It looks like he has,
For a
like, lights on
dragon's age, we now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
What? Okay,
Alright,
rolling.
let's start fresh.
Oh,
At some point, I'm gonna move on and stop corrupting AW or main
Okay,
RAM
rolling.
and be
oh,
the same scene over and over again. But we keep getting interesting
Okay.
results with it, so I kind of want to stick with it for the moment.
Okay, roll. Okay, rolling. Okay, okay, rolling.
I say that right as nothing else comes and happens anymore.
Okay, rolling.
oh,
I guess the mic is kind of stretched out. Alright,
Okay, rolling.
we can start messing with some other memory domains. So,
it's been peaceful here
once
in the
again, we're not going
five
to touch
worlds,
GPU
or-
RAM. Only because if we do GPU RAM, let's do a huge one.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Oh, actually, that was way too big.
peaceful here in the five worlds, or is it
My PC don't like.
for a dragon?
Never turn the scaler all the way up, okay.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five
It looks like we
worlds,
sprinkled
or
sprinkles
is
over
it
all the dragons, which is
for
cool
a
looking.
dragon's age?
If you want sprinkles.
We now
Um,
have
we're not gonna keep these
12,000
kind of corruptions.
treasure, or is it
Let's start messing with.
14,000?
Oh,
What
I
about
don't know.
this
Did we try
Ganasty
BIOS
Gnorc
ROM? I
character?
forget if that produced anything.
Now I understand he's found a magic spell to
It
turn
didn't.
gems
Okay.
into warriors for his
Decache
cause.
is once we start the game, we can mess with that.
Nasty Nork is a simple creature.
PIO RAM doesn't do anything.
He has been
Alright, so we
contained
only
in a
actually have
remote
SPU RAM to still mess with, so we can give that a try.
threat to the Dragon
We need a fairly
No
low
threat.
intensity, like 200.
Besides,
Give that a try.
Okay, rolling. Okay, roll.
I don't think we're gonna get sound corruptions in the way that I would hope, where like we, pitch shift some of the instruments, or we mess up which sound is being played, or maybe we even change the song that's currently playing. I don't believe messing with SPU RAM is gonna produce those effects like we do see on like the NES and stuff like that. So we may just get silence or buzzing.
Okay, rolling.
That does sound like an outline where we're working. So I think we'll switch back to main RAM for a little bit longer. I'd like to mess with some new engines. So we've been doing random for the longest time with an intensity of, what were we doing? 200?
Oh,
I
Okay, rolling.
Instead, though,
Oh,
we're going to try
it's
swapping
been
down
peaceful
to
here in
the Hell Genie
Five
engine for a little bit
Worlds,
longer. We
or
didn't get to
is
try
it
too much of that.
6?
We'll bring the
For
max
a
cheats up
Dragon's
to
Age.
150, which is
We
the
now
limiting
have
value of this engine,
12,000 treasure.
and we'll give that a try. I'm also going to save the stockpile right now because I'm afraid we may lose it for some weird reason.
Peaceful here in the Five.
Nasty Gnort
Spyro
character.
the Dragon
Now I
stockpile.
understand he's a nasty
Just in case.
Gnort character. Now I understand he's found a
Just as I say that, it is kind of all freezing, so let's take a sec here, let everything catch up. There we go. And then it caught up. Okay, I was a little worried there for a second. Alright. What are we doing? Night Region 200. Okay, so we're blasting and sending.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Hell Genie corruptions, right.
Okay, rolling.
oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five Worlds.
Okay, something's not quite right. Let me save this one more time. I'm just gonna do a small save, a manual save. I also noticed my mic isn't going through whenever I click on the not responding window. Oh no. So that's great. I don't know what I actually got to say there. I said BlizzHawk is slowing down, so I wanted to ensure that we are saving regularly. There's something kind of odd going on. I think I want to close down the Bush Harvester. You'll notice... It's not picking up. There we go. Well, this happens every once in a while, which is saying BlizzHawk's timing out, which I don't like seeing because there's an emergency save stockpile if anything comes back. I don't like what's going on. Let's I'm gonna hard reset on the console. And I'm gonna load my copy of Spyro. And I think that did it. There's some connection problem with BlizzHawk. I was running into trouble. Also, while we're here, I'm gonna rewind that a little bit. I'll crop this a little bit. Oh, that's probably very loud. That looks like it's very loud on OBS. Whoops, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, I just like doing that. We're gonna load our save state, just here.
Okay, rolling.
And now we're gonna blast send, as normal.
Okay. Okay, rolling.
It's been
Oh no,
peaceful
crash.
here in the
I kinda like that.
Five
Let's try to see if we can
Worlds,
save
or
that.
is it
The
6?
super zoomed up camera.
Dragon's Age. We now have 12.
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five.
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, roll. Okay, rolling.
oh, it,
Okay. Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
oh,
Okay, we have a single memory address, and it doesn't crash, and we have a nice zoom up. So let's start on the stockpile. We'll call it something like...
Or is it 14,000? What about this Ganasty Gnor character? Now I understand his character.
This is my close-up.
Now I understand he's found a
Let's try re-rolling. If we get different camera zoom amounts. That one we're super far away. I like that too.
Peaceful here in the five worlds, or is it six? For a dragon's age, we now have...
Now we're getting more of the same, so we can move on from here.
It's been peaceful here in...
We're still using the Nightmare engine upon main RAM. Oh, actually no, we're not using main RAM. We're using all these memory domains because we reset. There we go. Now we're on main RAM. Actually, that makes me wonder, what produced this effect? Is it main RAM still?
Okay, rolling.
We can take a look at which memory domain caused this effect. It was main RAM. Okay, as expected.
Here in the five...
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the five worlds, or is it six? For a dragon's age, we now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
Okay, I'm gonna add a quick note there. Yeah, a lot of the same effect, that's kinda odd.
Okay, rolling.
Because my speed's at 50%.
Peaceful here in the five...
Okay. Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
That's kinda neat. It's like a second
Peaceful
monitor
here in the
window.
five worlds, or
Window, I guess.
is it
Let's see if we can keep that, possibly.
Okay, rolling.
That might be tricky
It's
to
been peaceful
crash.
here in the...
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
oh,
Okay, rolling.
oh.
No, it looks like that's gonna crash regardless.
It's
Which makes sense, I mean, that's an odd corruption. Alright, let's move on.
Okay, rolling.
It's been
Look at that face.
in the five worlds,
Oh.
or is it six?
That's cool, it looks
For
3D
a
there.
dragon's age,
I guess it always look 3D,
we
but
now have 12,000 treasure,
get a nice view of it.
or is it 14,000?
What about this Ganasty? Okay. Okay, rolling. Okay.
Kind of gonna knock down the intensity a little bit, only because we're doing so many iterations and not getting anything. Try 100. So many iterations are crashing, actually. Still the same case, unfortunately.
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been...
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been...
Did sanity check corruption? Yeah, okay.
Okay, rolling.
Let's see, no matter what, it seems like a regression, but
It's been peaceful here.
sanity check confirmed that that was not a worry.
Okay, roll. Okay, rolling.
Oh,
Let's try out some other engines. We may not get too many interesting results. We have the distortion and the freeze engine available to us. The distortion is more meant for, or at least in my opinion, for auto corruptions. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Right now we can try blasting and sending a very high intensity distortion corruption for a value of 5,000.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been
And it looks like that didn't do anything at all. As a comparison, let me knock down intensity down to 20 and use the auto corruptor.
We now have 12,000.
Notice we instantly get an effect. And I believe it's because this is the way that the auto corruptor, the distortion engine works. The distortion engine starts at whenever you start it, so manual blast it. And after 50 iteration steps, it will. Well, I'll explain a little bit further. When you first manually blast the corruption, it takes 50 or 100, or it depends on your intensity, source addresses. It stores the values at those source addresses, and after a predetermined amount of steps in the game loop, 50 in this case, it will restore those values back to the original states at those original source addresses. And that can produce an interesting effect if you're, say, I don't know, in Pokemon and you're walking around and your player starts rubber banding across the map because it's trying to restore the value of where it used to be, or it will try to restore your health value when it changed, and that caused a chain effect of a bunch of stuff to happen. And I've never really found an interesting results in using the distortion engine with the glitch harvester specifically, only because of the nature of the glitch harvester. You only have one shot at each corruption with that single blast layer. And I don't know if it doesn't work with the distortion engine or if it only works in very specific circumstances, but I usually don't find interesting results with it, so I'm just going to move on and not use the distortion engine, even though it is available to us. That's more for live, real-time corruptions that are living in that sense. Anyways, next we have the freeze engine. So it takes a number of source addresses defined by the intensity, and the values at those source addresses are frozen in place, meaning they cannot change. And every iteration step, if they happen to change, like say player's location in the X plane changes from 1 to 2, it will reset that value back to 1, and it will keep that for as long as you have the corruption running. So that is defined, or limited I should say, by the amount of max freezes. So we'll bring that max freezes up to 100, and we'll match that with our intensity. Now we will load a fresh corruption to see if that has any interesting effects on the ROM. We also need to unpause it here. There we go.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
And
Okay,
100 may be a bit too much. Let's knock it down. We can try 40.
here in the 5 worlds.
Usually you have to worry about doing too high of a max freeze value, because every iteration step,
We now have 12,000
there's some stuff going on.
Or is it 14,000?
Oh, so. With every iteration step, it needs to rewrite those values, and that can be kind of intense on the processor, since that's 100 memory writes per second or per iteration step. That can be too much.
I'll
But
take that question.
we'll knock it down to 40.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it...
Okay, rolling. Okay, rolling.
Not too many interesting effects with that. Just a couple flickers here and there. You can try the pipe engine instead. The pipe engine takes the amount of source addresses defined by the intensity, and it takes the values at the source addresses and pipes it to another location, another source address predefined. Predefined at the glitch state or the beginning of the corruption.
Okay, rolling.
I actually want to take a look at that while I'm here. So I'm going to open that blast editor. Okay, so we have a source address and a parameter value. So the source address, you take the variable that's at a specific source address and pipes that variable to another location.
What about this Ganasty Gnort character?
Okay.
Now I understand.
Try running that a couple times.
Okay, rolling.
Oh,
In this case, he lost his legs.
here in the 5 worlds, or
Kinda
is
interesting.
it 6? For a dragon's age. We now have 12,000
Okay, rolling.
Yeah, there's not too many there either. And it looks like we are just about at the end of the amount of corruption engines available to us. We have a couple others, but they may not be relevant. I do want to try one quick one, which is the vector engine. We usually don't get to use the vector engine too much because we don't have too many 3D models, but the vector engine will be definitely perfect, I believe, for Spyro. We'll see. We're going to bring the intensity, I believe, upwards to a fairly high amount. That's unfortunate. It actually may not have the effect I'm looking for.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age.
Unfortunately, no luck with that. I was hoping to get lucky.
Okay,
Anyway, I think I'll leave it off here.
Oh,
We have... how many is that? A lot of visual corruptions. 9, I think. Which is plenty. I didn't have a chance to get into the actual gameplay corruptions, only because I have a final tomorrow morning and I gotta wake up a little bit early for it. So I'm gonna cut the stream a little short here. However, we will revisit Spyro, absolutely. In a little bit. I'm not sure about exactly when. I will be returning home in a little bit, back to my nicer desktop, my nicer mic. And we'll be doing some more powerful corruptions. Probably Wii system, probably Wii games, GameCube games, some Dreamcast stuff. You know, we'll move on to some more powerful stuff along the line. But at the moment, I'm still here. And I got that last corruption, or I'm sorry, that last test to take. I wish it was a corruption test. And let me pull up Retro to find someone to host, and let me pull up some music as well. And do Animal Crossing, because that's the first thing that popped in my head, and it's all I ever do. Is that like how it sounds? Oh, that was loud. Oh, it's only like 3 minutes. It's Christmas music. Alright, I got 3 minutes to quickly find someone else. But this stockpile will be available for download on the YouTube archive after the stream. As with any of the other corruption stockpiles, I think I've only missed maybe 1 or 2 here and there. So feel free to check those out. You can re-roll the corruptions, you can try to add more to them, create a big list of them. You know, you can do whatever you'd like with them. I think I'm gonna be able to find this in time. Find someone else in time. I'm bad at deciding. I'm indecisive. There's a guy doing Pokemon Yellow. That sounds kind of neat. Let's do some Pokemon Yellow. Alright, thank you for everyone who's able to stop by. I'll be here maybe tomorrow. This might be the first stream I've missed in a while, but I'll be flying back. Oh no, I'll be here tomorrow. I'll definitely be here tomorrow. I might do something like Desert Bus, since I can't sleep on the day of a flight. But the day after that, I might not be here. But outside that, as we get closer to the date. In the meantime, yeah. Everyone have a good evening. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.